Hey there, it's Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. It's the final week of the Orilium Autumn Equinox Magical Readathon, and well, there are still more books to be read, so here I am to talk about them. I have an extremely busy week this week with all of the different things that are happening in my life, so I'm just going to try and read as much as I can and just keep going. So let's kick off with what I'm currently reading, and that is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. Yeah, I finally picked it up. I am so happy with myself that I've actually picked this one up finally, because I keep putting it off, because I just didn't want to finish it, and there was something about it that was not drawing me to it. Anyway, I've picked it up now, and I am this far through, so probably just under halfway through the book. And so far I am liking it. It is sort of missing something, and I'm not really sure what. I don't know, am I just in a funk at the moment where I'm just finding a bunch of books and missing things? I don't know. I almost feel like there are too many stories going on, and it flicks between people, and I'm not sure if I'm fully invested in any of them yet. I need them to just get to the point a little bit faster so I can be invested in them. Anyway, something sad just happened in one of the plot lines, and I'm thinking that I might just pretend that it never happened. Just in my head, I'm just going to retcon that and let the people be happy and pretend that that never happened. So that's what I'm currently reading. All of my reading for this week will be purely for quests, because I've completed the career goals that I needed, and now I'm just after guild points, because why not? I want my character to just earn those guild points and be very well respected, I guess. It's been a long day. I went to an exercise class. I watched House of the Dragon, which I am cautiously intrigued by and think may be okay, but I am reserving judgment until I've seen at least another episode. I've also been doing some reading, some more Rule of Wolves. That really hurts. I do that so much, where I just pull a book up and smack it into my face, but this is quite a hefty book. So my recommendation is don't smack yourself with a book. Read about 130 pages of Rule of Wolves, and things have taken a turn. Some more characters have come back into it that I like, and I'm enjoying it more. I definitely have some strange feelings towards this book, or the King of Scars duology in general, because there are things that I do like about it, and there are things that I just don't connect with as well. I'm not quite sure if it's the entire threat that is going on, the war that's happening. I'm not sure how interested I am in that, and I think that's maybe why I'm sort of struggling, because everybody else has these interesting stories that are going on, but the overarching thing is that there's this war. And I just feel like it's going to all go well for the good guys in the end. I mean, maybe not for all of the good guys, but I can't see it ending any other way. And maybe that's why I'm not feeling it in quite the same way as I did with the other Grisha books. I don't know. Maybe it's me that can't quite find my footing in it. Maybe it's the way that it's written. I also started reading Cirque du More, and I am reading this one for the quest, where you read it over 5 days, and so I divided it into 5, and I read 56 pages today. Now, this book is an interesting one, because I went into it not knowing very much. I knew that it was a Circus Fae reverse harem book, and that was it. And I really don't like the main character, and there are bits that I like about it, but I know exactly what's going to happen because it has been told to me already. 56 pages into the book, I know exactly what's going to happen. And that's really annoying, because why would you telegraph that? There is so much telling and not showing, and the main character is a bitch. She's just a bitch. The book opens with her having sex with her boyfriend of the time, and all she is doing is thinking about other things and complaining to herself about how small his dick is. Because here's the thing, I don't want to read about a woman saying a man has a tiny dick, because it's exactly the same as if I was reading about a man saying that a woman had tiny boobs. It's body shaming. I don't want to read about it. It just makes the character an asshole. And then magical, crazy things start to happen, and all of the characters just say everything. They say the plot points, and I'm like, oh, please stop. Hold something back for me, please. But no. I am glad that I have got some other books going on at the same time that I think that I will enjoy more, other romance books particularly, and we'll just keep going. Let's have a quick chat about Cirque du More. I am, I think, 87 pages into this book, and I want to DNF it so much. I think this book is causing me physical pain at this point. It reads like bad fan fiction, like a Wattpad author's first story. It's just so so not good, and I keep trying to get through it, but all of the characters are not unlikable. They don't really have personalities. The main character is just constantly being like, well, holy fucking shit, what's this about? I fucking knew it, this cock-sucking dick face. And I swear a lot. I do. It's true. One of my uncles nicknamed me Potty Mouth. It's fine. But I think that there is a limit. It's almost as if half the words that this character knows are swear words, and she must use at least 2 of them in every sentence. Now, I've not even mentioned the magical dicking that this woman is getting within 87 pages of knowing these guys. She had an orgasm from licking one guy's blood from her fingernails, and then she just had sex with another one of the brothers. Yes, they're all brothers. Although I'm not really sure it was actually sex, because he put the sausage in the pie and then got very excited about that. A little bit too excited. He orgasmed like 5 times and did not get soft. Sometimes I just want to read smart where something realistic happens. I know they're fairies, I know they are, but at the same time, it's not sexy when they're just like having orgasms from like touching people. It would be really inconvenient if that happened in real life and you just like went up to your partner, touched them, bam, orgasm. It would be very inconvenient, and I just think it's not sexy. I'd like a little bit of build-up here, at least something. It just takes all of the wind out of the sails. I don't know, it's just frustrating to me. I'm ranting about it now. I'm not going to DNF this book, even though I wildly, truly wish I could DNF this book. But this is the one I'm going to read for a book you read over 5 days, and I'm just going to keep going, because I only have to read like 50 pages a day for 5 days, so it's only going to annoy the shit out of me for 5 days. I really should DNF it, but I'm not going to, and I invite you all to watch my pain. Short update on the day. Sorry if you can hear the fan. It's suddenly horrendously muggy, and I can't turn it off, or else I will expire before your very eyes. I finished Rule of Wolves, and I'll tell you more about that in detail in a better camera lighting situation. And I went to see Bodies, Bodies, Bodies tonight, which was fun and a bit silly. Takes the mick out of Gen Z, and, you know, it wasn't a scary film, but it was a funny film, so it was good. Can you hear the cat? I don't know if you can hear the cat, but he's locked in right now because he's left me 2 mouse heads in the space of 2 days, and I don't believe that I needed any mouse's heads, but I have had mouse's heads. So I'm sitting down to read more Cirque du More. I think I figured out that it's not just telling, not showing that they're doing. It's the fact that characters just say things that have no bearing on anything that is happening. That's just like, here, have some information. I'm just gonna say it now. You didn't ask, but I'm saying it. Like, here's my family tree. And I'm like, why are you saying that? But you wouldn't say that in a conversation. That's not how conversation works. Finding myself frustrated. But, I mean, I guess the main character's about to get a 3rd dicking, so that's nice for her. Main character just remembered that her boyfriend exists and was maybe missing, and she's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I found someone, or maybe 3 someones who are a million times better, known them for like an hour, and she's had an orgasm with one of them and dicked another one, and I mean, I don't know what's happening. Why is it? Oh my god, it's just a bit much. It's too much. Well, she had sex with the first guy again and not the 3rd guy. The 3rd guy is just disappeared for a bit. But anyway, now she's got vampire teeth and may or may not be a vampire. I don't know what's happening. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. This book honestly makes no sense, and I don't think I could make it make sense.
long day out, so I'm not gonna sit here and talk for very long. Reading today's pages for Cirque du Mort, there are just so many things that just make absolutely no sense. There's like sentences that don't run on from each other, or were like maybe edited later on, and then the next sentence wasn't edited. Like, there's a section where the main character says, "Fuck, that sucks that that happens to you," and then there's like a paragraph of text, and then the other character replies, "Me too. That sucks that that happens to you. Me too." And it just kind of goes on like that. They're little things that just could have been fixed if somebody had edited it. And given that I spend my days editing things for other people, I find it extremely noticeable and it's really hard to read. And I just need to talk about something that just happened that made me go like, really? Really? Why? And it's that the main character was having sex with the third guy she has gotten with now. And his dick grew bigger while he was inside her. And she had commented on the fact that he had the smallest penis because she's so fascinated with penis size. And then she was like, "Oh, but it's getting bigger." Like, wow. Another thing that's getting on my nerves is that it flicks between them having sex and then immediately, like, info dumping about the world. So, like, they've stopped having sex, and then she's like, "So what about these tunnels? This is like, why are there tunnels?" I'm like, what? That's not a logical flow to a conversation. You can't just say things to move the plot along after a sex scene. That's like almost like the sex scene was inserted afterwards. So I started reading her Fairy King. Aside from the fact that he suddenly became Scottish when he was around her, even though in all of his other speech he was just not Scottish, but then he became Scottish and was like using lass every other second, so that was a bit weird. So aside from that, there is this thing about him being huge. They're like, "Oh, human furniture was not made for fey males." I mean, he's 6'10". There are 6'10" people out there. The furniture doesn't break when they sit on it. Well, some furniture might. I don't personally know anyone who's 6'10". So anyway, she's a virgin, and he's like, "Oh, she's not going to be able to take my size. She's not going to be able to handle it. It's going to make it really hard." But like, couple pages before, he was just like 3 fingers on up there. She didn't seem to have a problem with that. So who's to say she wouldn't have some sort of magical stretchy vulva? I don't know. Anyway, it just occurs to me that it was really odd, because it's like, why are we like saying that he's so massive and that he's way more massive than human guys? And I'm like, but is he though? So the 2 main characters are having sex for the first time, and there was a typo that just really amused me, and it was my ass right cheek rather than my right ass cheek, and it just, I don't know why. Also, they keep using the word cream, and I just don't want to hear the word cream in any sort of sexual setting. It's so gross. Cream. Ugh. So it turns out there are many things about this book that tickle me, but one of them is that he planned their wedding day without telling her. And then was like, "Oh, surprise, we're getting married today." And she's like, "What? What?" And then he's like, "Yeah, our traditions mean that, the bride's not allowed to know when the wedding day is before it's going to be there." And she's like, "What? What?" And then she storms off, and I am fully supportive of this decision. She's like, "I'm off, mate. I don't want to get married. I'll see you, I'm gone." He's like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "Away from you." And that's exactly the reaction that she should have. Even though, she's known him for like 72 hours, and the whole time she's basically spent dicking him. Aside from when she got kidnapped, because that happened too, but then she was unkidnapped and has kind of been kidnapped by this guy. The guy who broke into her house fully naked, knocked her door down and said, "Hey, let's fuck." This is an interesting book, obviously. I'm clearly at least having a fun time with it. It's not the most well-written thing. There are loads of like typos and like just a few editing errors, but it is fun to read, so there is that. I'm nearly at the end of the book, and so much has happened. We're currently in the stage of wrapping things up and it all being nice for everyone. They're currently trying to conquer uncharted territory with her virgin back hole. Yes, back hole is the words that are used repeatedly to describe an area. She also has a magical stretchy asshole that does not, back hole, that does not know hurty, because she's like, okay, nothing to 3 big man fingers to its big dick. Apparently, that's what she keeps saying. She keeps saying it's a big dick. So, you know, sometimes I wonder if people really think about things before they write them. I honestly wish I could read on my phone and show you my reactions too, because I swear this guy's trying to fist her. She's just a virgin, and he's like got 4 fingers up there. Like, the next thing that you know it, oh no, please stop. Please stop, my man. She's just announced that she's pregnant with your child, and you're like, hey, fingers up the butt.
It's been a couple of days, and I'm finally ready to talk about Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the currently last book in the Grishaverse series that are out at the moment. I think this may be the final one. I don't know if she'll return to it. She's left it in a place where she could return to it, but also I'd kind of equally be happy for it to be left here. I found this book a little bit hard to get into at first. I think it's because of the way that the multiple perspectives were switching. Sometimes I think it's quite hard for me to get into multiple perspectives, but I ended up enjoying it, especially when they all sort of started converging towards the end. And there were lots of reappearances of characters that I really like in this one, so it was nice to see them. And there were some really cool moments. I've got to say that I think my favourite character in the King of Scars duology is Zoya, and I just really love what happens with her. And she has some really badass moments. I'm definitely very conflicted about a certain character, which I can't really talk about without spoiling anything, because there is like a very big twist at the end of the previous book in the series, and it will spoil other things in like the wider series as a whole. But I'm very conflicted about it, and I feel like I would have expected myself to react in a certain way, and I haven't reacted in that way to it. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, but I will say that I think this is my least favourite duology in the Grishaverse set. I've also been making my way through Cirque du Mort by Tammy Lynn. It's like really like weird. I haven't read like a weird smut book for a while, and this is definitely it. There's a guy with a penis that inflates, and another guy whose name is Sin and is short for sincere, and like a clown that's also a lion tamer, and lions that turn into people that lick the audience in the circus and lick them to death, and some woman got blowjobbed to death. There's so much to say about this book, and I hate the main character. I hate all of the characters. It's wild, and yeah. I feel bad because it is an indie book, but also it needs some help. Last night I read Her Fairy King by Bianca Cole. This is an ebook, and it was for RomComathon, and also it covered one of the quests for Magical Readathon. And this was also kind of wild. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars because, well, I like Fated Mates. I didn't love that it was like insta-love Fated Mates, and there were some unrealistic things, and I'm not sure that the main guy character ever wore clothes. He literally turns up, breaks down the woman's door, starkers with a hard-on, and it went from there, really. It was all very fast-paced, and I didn't really get to care about any of the characters. And also, sometimes he was Scottish and sometimes he wasn't. And by Scottish, I mean that he uses the word lass and lad. Occasionally. So that one ended up getting 2 out of 5 stars. It was a very easy read, though, so I'm glad I've read it, and, you know, that's that. It's been a couple of days since I've vlogged, and I've finished 4 books since then. Finally finished Cirque du Mort, and it has been a while since I have read a book that is quite this bad. I could write a whole video review on this book and all of the things that were just absolutely bonkers. So, I mean, if my talking about this book was too long, didn't watch, Asshole Woman goes to circus with her boyfriend who she hates, and then so they're all fairies, but like sexual fairies that are doing like sexual things in the circus. I don't know. Someone gets their dick out in the middle of the circus. And then they like all get together because it's kind of like Fated Mates, but it's not really, because none of it makes any sense. I mean, it's all super predictable, but none of it still makes sense. Then next up I read Wolf of Wessex by Matthew Humphrey. And this one is a complete change of pace from the others. It is historical fiction, which I don't usually read, but I did pick this one up because of the quest prompt, and this is one that my friend recommended to me because I like the character Druss from David Gemmell's books, and I did get Druss feels from this. It is about a grumpy old ex-warrior who has given up his warrior lifestyle and just wants to settle down in the forest, and then he finds this girl whose dad has been murdered viciously and ends up embroiled in some plans and plots that are happening throughout the country. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a comfort fantasy in the sense that I didn't necessarily feel too scared for any of the characters, but at the same time I was like, it's just nice. It was nice to read. I liked it. So, yeah. Then next up I reread Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I'm starting my reread of this series because I'm finally going to finish it. I have big plans to finish it, hopefully next month. Who knows how that's going to go though, because I've been saying I'm going to finish this series for the longest time. So hopefully I can. Anyway, I reread this one. I liked it. I liked how there were some nods to things that I didn't know before I'd read Air of Fire, so this was actually like a worthwhile reread. And then lastly, I read Vengeful Demon King by Nikki St. Croix. This is the final book in the Wrath and Rain series. And I actually really like this one. I found that the main character stopped making the stupid decisions that she'd made previously. And I quite liked the sort of new developments that came about in this one. Can't really say anything because it would spoil a lot of things. Yeah, I was like kind of happy in the end as well. It had an ending that was satisfying, so I appreciated that, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. My family and I are going away to a lodge for a week, so I may have lots of time to read, or I may not have lots of time to read, depending on how noisy my family are. Readathon is over, and my vlogging of the last couple of days of the Readathon was terrible. So I did some reading, I just didn't tell you guys about it. I actually read quite a few books, but only one of them counted towards the Orilium Magical Readathon, and I also just totally failed at reading more for RomComathon. I read 2 books for it, and I'm kind of surprised that I managed to read so little. I read romance books, but they just didn't count towards the prompts, and that's, you know, fail for me. But I still had a good time, and I actually really enjoyed the books I read. So let's talk about the last prompt I actually managed to complete for the Orilium Magical Readathon, and it was the quest to read a book that featured a game, or had a game in the title. So the book that I picked for this was I Effing Dare You by M. Darcy, and this is a bully romance set in like a weird prestigious high school with, you know, rich kids who bully people. So I figured that this book was going to involve some sort of dare, because the second book is called Spin the Damn Bottle, as in like the game Spin the Bottle. So I was like, oh well, the first book will definitely contain a game, and I thought it would be like dares, like truth or dare. It wasn't. It wasn't that. However, they did constantly refer to games that they were playing, so I still count it for this prompt. I surprisingly enjoyed it. I don't know why. It was not exactly what I expected when I went into it, and I wasn't really sure how I'd feel about the bully romance aspect. I think you just have to sort of put away any sense of like logical thinking when you read a book like this, because in reality, if somebody did to me any of the things that were done to the main female character, it would be the most horrific thing. But fictionally, to read about, I don't know, it just worked and I liked it. I found the steamy scenes quite steamy. I enjoyed it enough to read the sequel at the start of the month after, but like, I'll tell you about that when we come to it. So let's just wrap up week 4 of the Orilium Magical Readathon. This week was all about completing quest prompts. So these are the quests that I completed and the books that I read for them. So for paid animal therapy, I read Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. For Amphibian Wranglers Wanted, I read Her Fairy King by Bianca Cole. For Artificer Supplies Required, I read Cirque du Mort. For TAHPS Volunteers, I read The Wolf of Wessex by Matthew Humphrey. Then for potion testing, I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. And lastly, for Gnomescape, I read I Effing Dare You by M. Darcy. So those are the books I read. Now let's wrap up the Readathon in general. So I did manage to complete my Dreamwalker career, and that required me to read 8 books, and I did all of those. And then I managed to complete a whopping 11 of the quests. I'm really not sure how this happened. This is like my best reading month I've ever had in my life. I think that was a successful readathon. I feel really good about it, and yeah, thanks for being here with me. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!